everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. In this episode, we're going to try out the Eventide Fission Mark II. This is the second iteration of this plugin. So once again, the lovely people at Eventide have given us 3 copies of this to give away, so please enter to win one of 3 copies. What is interesting about this is one of our other reviewers is, of course, Mr. Matt Lang, who Matt and I do a lot of reviews together because he works predominantly in what people like to call EDM, but he works in dance music. He produces and remixes tons and tons of tracks. He also happens to be a shredding guitar player as well, which is another useful attribute. And I am excited because I'm going to use it in a completely organic way where I'm sure he's going to do his own stuff. He also, rumor has it, according to Eric, was a beta tester on this plugin and has presets. He has his own presets. So we'll let him talk about that. So without further ado, let's try out this plugin. So I thought because it has 2 completely independent ways of working, I needed something that was percussive and musical. It has transient effects and tonal effects, and then this thing called structural split in between it. So why don't we just open up and I'll show you what I mean. Here is the transient effects. Here's the structural split, which you can turn on and off, and here's the tonal effects, which you can also turn on and off. So what does that mean? It means that if I take an instrument like an acoustic guitar, in this case it's a stereo pair of acoustic guitars, I can have some fun with it because an acoustic guitar has a percussive element to it, but it also has a tonal element, meaning the ring of the string. So you've got that initial attack and then you've got the ring afterwards. So I can shape the transient side and I can shape the tonal side. So here it is in bypass. Here's the acoustics. It's a pair of Yamaha LL16s. It's already got some EQ applied to it. It's been mixed. It's not mixed within an inch of its life, but it's been mixed. So let's turn the plugin on. So as you can tell, it's defaulted. I didn't set it, just defaulted to 90 BPM, which of course is the tempo of the song. Now I can turn off each of these. So it's the same being bypassed. Let's just turn on just the transient. Solo it. Okay, so now we're soloing the transient effects portion. And you can hear it's exaggerating the transients. So if I wanted to, I could take off a lot of the low end and exaggerate the high-end transients. Make the mix go to 100%. Interesting. Take it out of solo. I'm going to go back to the default on the low cut. Back to 50-50 wet and dry. So let's solo the tonal effects. So you can see there's none of the percussive elements. Again, set to a dotted eighth. And now I can blend between the 2 things. I can increase the feedback on the delay. So now I've got just the attack with a dotted eighth note. Creating a new rhythm. Bring the gain up a little bit. Before. After. Bypass. Back in. Bypass. And back in. Bypass. It's pretty tasty. What I actually think I would do is create an identical bus and then put it on full 100% effect and blend it in independently. That's just me. I think I would do that. You can do whatever you like. You could do it on the mix control on the thing, but I'm just going to have some fun with it. I love that. So here's the separate bus along with the original bus. Out. Back in. Nice. So let's try it on something where I can get a little nuttier. What do I have here? I have a piano print. Pedestrian piano that I put down. I'm not the world's greatest piano player after all. That's the default. There's modulation on the tonal effects. I could use that on its own. It's interesting. I like this, that they've defaulted to the modulation permanently being on the tonal effects. And then with the transient, they don't have the modulation on, which makes perfect sense to me. So let's see what happens if I just warp the transient effects. Take it off. %. See what other effects we got. Tap, delay, reverb. So we can really have some fun with it on the effects. Okay, that's where it's really stepping into its own. So now what I can do is I can have reverb on the transients and delay on the main chords being played. Before. after. Okay, this is really going to enable quite stripped down arrangements like this. This is a stereo, acoustic guitar, bass, drums, stereo electric guitar, and a piano. Obviously, it's got the woo, woo, woo. But instrumentation-wise, it's pretty minimal. So it means I could take a very, very simple track and create extra movement from pre-existing instruments. This is really kind of wonderful. As you know, we're big fans of Eventide as a company because of, look, there's an H3000. I don't know if you can see in this camera shot. I'm sure Eric will show it. That gets used all the time. All of our vocal effects, we use that all the time. We print through it. It is one of the best units ever made. It is an absolutely incredible multi-effects unit that still gets used in pretty much every major studio all over the world every day. Everybody loves it. Eventide have always been about creating interesting effects. The split EQ, of course, was pretty revolutionary. I don't think I saw a bad review. Everybody loved it. This is another real winner for me because it is something that's going to be twisted and make me think in a different way. I need to put a post-it note up here saying, don't forget the Scion 2, because in mixing, this is going to be really, really useful to add some movement and energy. I get asked a lot about how can I mess up stock sounds? Well, this is a piano that I played and has been MIDI'd. This is the perfect example. So here it is. Again, no effects. MIDI piano. Here is what we just added. So if you're working in a world of virtual instruments and you're trying to add some interest and something to twist it and make it just feel different to what everybody else is doing, this is a perfect example. I've got a Crush drum bus here. You know I'm going to do it. You know I'm going to do it. Take it off. Blend it down just a little bit. So I'm going to bring the effect down on the piano a little bit. We've got so much extra movement now. Take that. That's the drums without that. Back in. This is the plugin you've all been asking about when it comes to using programmed drums. Because so many people ask me, they're like, how do I kind of randomize it, make it feel a bit more human? Well, I've got a really tight drum kit here with some kick and snare samples on it. It sounds relatively human. That's without it on. The extra movement it's giving it. So that extra movement that's coming from the Fission is getting eaten up, but it doesn't matter. When you take it away, the drums sound flat. When you put it back in, the drums seem to have more forward motion. So that's me really enjoying it on organic instruments. Oh, by the way, don't forget you can win one of 3 copies of this. Let's go over to Matt Lang and see how he got on with the very same plugin.
Hey folks, Matt Lang here. I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite tricks with the new Eventide Fission 2. I had the luxury of fortunately being on the beta team for this plugin as I was with the first iteration of Fission 1, if you will. And it's a very creative plugin where you can really do some very interesting things to sound, especially since you can affect both the transient and tonal properties separately, much like their split EQ, but with effects. So it allows you to do some very, very cool things. And it comes shipped with a ton of presets that I made. So I'm just going to walk you through 5 of them and I'll show you what it can do. So here we are. We're looking at Fission. And if you go down to the preset menu, you go to Artists, and you will see, oh, here is Matt Lang, and oh, there is a lot. And yeah, it's a fun plugin. So this is what I do. But anyway, so I'm gonna play you this drum loop first. It's just a drum-based break. And then I'm gonna turn on Fission and show you what it's doing. So here is the unaffected break. Here's my preset called Cavernous. So what's it doing? First thing is I'm splitting the transients into a gate and an EQ. So I'm only affecting the transient, not the tonal property. And if we solo the transient effects, this is what it sounds like. And we can adjust the threshold. So we're gating out all the hats. So all we're getting is the kick and the snare. And we could even then EQ down the high end if we really want to be cavernous about it. But then the flip side, this is the tonal side. So the tones are all getting sent to a reverb, but none of the transients are. So it's going to be a much more duller reverb. And if we adjust the transient decay, so we get even less of the transient. Mix them together, you have this. And before, it was this. So it can really twist a beat, and it's quite creative. I wouldn't use this as like, the main beat, obviously, but for an effect on something or even like a transition or whatever, great sound. So next, let's look at Fission on a guitar. And here is my unaffected guitar. And you can hear it's got some kind of stereo thing going on, whether it's tremolo or who knows what. But with my preset called Shoeblaze, it transforms that into this. So much more shoegazy, if you will. And what are we doing here? Well, on the transient, we are doing a reverse delay with some crystallization if we really want to. So this is just the transient here. And that's getting mixed with the tonal section is getting chorused. That sounds like this. But we're not chorusing the transients. So that's what makes this nice. So we don't have any like smeary transients, but we do have that nice lush tonal property of it. So mixed together, we get this now. And if we wanted to, we could then pitch up the transients. So let's do that by 1200 cents, which is an octave. Check this out. And I could turn off crystal mode. I like crystal mode though. Crystal mode basically puts the pitch shifter back into the feedback loop, so you get those nice blooming classic Eventide crystals. So that's a way you can use it on a guitar. Let's take a look on using it on a different kind of drum loop. This is like a housey kind of loop. Sounds like this. Boring. Let's try my preset resonating drums. So what's going on, right? It's a funny, like, robotic one. All right, so first, transient effects. It's a similar thing we were doing before. We are gating just the transient. We could even make it tighter. Cool. And now let's check out the tonal. So what's going on here? It's a delay, and it is a very quick delay, which is causing the comb filtering, and it's at 12 milliseconds, but we can, of course, play with it. You could automate it, and that's where the fun comes in. And I have some high cut. Same with the low cut, too. Because frankly, I don't want to resonate that. So I like the low cut and the high cut. But the nice thing about these two things mixed together is, so while we have the robotic comb filtering drums, we also then have the drums on top of it. And we could really, you know, for instance, I have the low gain turned down, but we could bring the lows back. Maybe some mids. So great creative preset, lots of fun. Let's try it on a bass. And this is your standard drum bass Reese kind of bass. All right, now with Fission, with my preset called It Gets Deeper, it gets deeper. So what am I doing? I am gating and EQing the transient, and then I am chorusing the bottom. So here's the transient signal. So it's a little choppy, and we just adjust it. And I've taken all the high end and the mids and barely anything on the lows. But this is where it gets fun, is on the tonal section, I'm chorusing it. And I have the depth at 100, the speed as fast as it'll go, and the size at 0, and the tones down just to darken it a touch. But let's play with the knobs a little. Like, that would be fun to automate. Let's play with the size. We want that depth. We want that speed. Here's no chorusing. So that's a fun way to just transform a bass sound. And last, but certainly not least, this is one of my favorite presets. Before I show you the preset, I'm just using this mallet flux from Native Instruments. And I just made this little polyrhythmic pattern. Sounds like this. So it's 3/4. And now Fission, and I used a remember on purpose because this preset is called Reich on Time, which is definitely an homage to Steve Reich, whose music I adore, and he used marimbas a lot and does lots of, you know, cool, very like slow motivic development, like with patterns like that. But I made a preset to kind of take things, take patterns like that, or make things that aren't even like a Steve Reich kind of piece and kind of turn it into that. And it sounds like this. Really beautiful sounding. So what's going on? Well, on the tonal, I have a multi-tap delay, and it's doing this. And that's my mix knob. And I have taper on it just to kind of taper the tails a bit. As opposed to reversing it, so that the tails swing up. And I'm not using any spread because I don't want there to be any change of the timing. It essentially ramps the decay time, which is cool, but not what I want to do with this. So that's my multi-tap delay, and as you saw, I played a little bit with the number of taps. 16 taps over the course of a whole note is going to be 16th notes. 8 taps is going to be 8th notes, 4 would be quarter notes. You can figure out the math for triplets, right? So now let's take a look at the tonal section, and tonal is doing this. So we're doing the ping pong reverse delay again, which is great, but since we're just doing it just on the actual tonal characteristics, we're not getting those attacks. So considering we have different delay times between the transient and the tonal, that allows us to have this very even more interesting rhythmic ambiguity and complexity. So let's go back, let's unsolo those. I'm gonna play it with and with, or I'll just mix it in and out because we do have a handy mix knob. And nice amount of feedback. So that's Fission 2. It's a ton of fun. You can go check out all my presets in it, and it's definitely an inspiring tool, and I highly recommend it.
Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed both of our takes on this. If you haven't already, please go to producelikeapro.com, sign up for the email list, get a whole bunch of free goodies. Please like and subscribe and all that kinds of good stuff. And don't forget to enter to win one of 3 copies of this lovely plugin. So long, farewell, la vie de say, and au revoir. Adios.